sauna reduces your risk of dying of all things. Another way to say that is that regular sauna use increases your health span, the years of your life that you're healthy. It doesn't matter what your problem is and what you're dealing with physically or emotionally or mentally, sauna in some aspect will benefit you. And so sauna is basically doing two things. It's detoxing you at the cellular level through the production of heat shock proteins, and they refold proteins and move them around. So the sauna therapy, the heat in a sustained fashion where the whole body is heated up and we sweating, it detoxes you and it promotes cellular rejuvenation by fixing the proteins in your body. And so you have not just a detox effect with sauna, you have a cellular rejuvenation effect. You're fixing and improving how the cell works.
Well, I'm here with Brian Richards, and after a day getting here, I'm so excited that you're here with me. I was thinking about this today because I've read that SaunaSpace was founded in 2013, and that blows my mind because in 2013, first of all, 2013 feels like so much more than a decade ago. I don't know who I was then or what I was doing, but I'm pretty sure I was a very different human being. But that also feels like way before wellness was even like a thing. Were you just the odd duck out since forever?
Yeah, somewhat. It just, once you're in the wellness community, it seems like it's always been there. But yeah, in terms of red light therapy, near infrared light therapy, nobody was talking about that 10 years ago. And also with sauna, some of the most amazing sauna research came out after that. So in terms of the longevity studies that came out in 2015. So yeah, and particularly where I'm based in Columbia, Missouri, there's not a whole lot of wellness awareness around here. It's definitely improved since the COVID era. But yeah, in the beginning, it was just me and a crazy idea.
Well, I can respect that. I want to hear from you because no one can say it better than you. You probably said it 1,000 times in front of everyone, but here, tell us about SaunaSpace, for you and what it means to you today.
Yeah, SaunaSpace. So people put a label on what they do when they leave their home and they call it work, but it's really just an extension of who we are. We're here at home. We're here at our mom's house, and we're here at this place we call work or business. But really it's an extension of me. So when you look at SaunaSpace, you're looking at my consciousness. You're looking literally at me. And I wasn't sure at all in the beginning about it because I was doing rental real estate, which my rational mind was saying that will be your ticket to success, into an endless vacation. But I wasn't very good with being the landlord. I was really good at fixing up the houses and making things beautiful because I'm a tinkerer and a creator. But that aspect of it didn't square with my soul. And so this came up after my healing journey that I went on, where I had some health issues, and I kind of just dropped my tools when this opportunity came up after I healed myself with the electric light bath, which is the formal name of this technology, using incandescent light for a sauna. And I never looked back. In fact, when I got a call from an early customer crying, and they were telling me how much the shabby little product I made in 2013 had transformed their life, I was just in awe. It brought tears to my eyes as well. And I knew at that point that I suppose my rational mind got confirmation. Okay, let the heart do what it wants to do. This is because I really did want to do it. And I made my own, before that, I made my own logo and made my own incorporated and made my own little website. And sort of that was the start of it. So what SaunaSpace means to me is in some ways is everything, because it's just me. It's me pursuing the passion of my heart and doing something creative that I wasn't sure about would work. And I definitely almost went bankrupt 2 times. And, it's now been over a decade, but I've always held on to doing my own thing and pursuing this vision that I had that I feel like I was really called to do. So it was me, but there was also this calling, and that's been validated time and time again with so many healing stories. If you look at our customer reviews, none of them talk about the shipping time. All of them, they're like these really long stories of healing and recovery and transformation.
So two things really stand out in that. One, if you've been through two bankruptcies or almost two bankruptcies, like you have had to recommit and double down time and time again. So I'm excited to maybe explore a little bit of that. But also I love this idea that this is an expression of you. It takes a lot of courage to be willing to put yourself on such a display and to put your business, your beliefs, your heart out there. What have been the moments where you were like almost about to cave in, where you were almost out? Money, I think, is a big part of that, sure. But there are also like these moments of like, is this ever going to happen for me? That I think also have a big effect on whether or not we weather the storm.
Yeah, certainly. I didn't pay myself a salary for 3 years or more. And then I finally did. And that was a big success. And then, yeah, there was probably a point a few years ago wherein I was working too much, and it's one thing to follow your heart, but you also need to take care of yourself and love yourself as well. And not just like in pursuing your one passion or one of your greatest passions, but also like self-care. So I'm making this product that's helping people remember the unlimited power of healing that they have within. And there was a period where I wasn't really using it myself. And I was just working like crazy, working like 60 or 80 hours a week and like coming home, spending some time with the family and then going back to work in the evening, staying there till midnight. And I definitely got burnt out, and I was questioning myself there at several moments. Like, even though the business was growing, like, can I handle this? Can I do this and still be well? I want to enjoy my life. I want to enjoy other things as well. So there's this, they call that the drama triangle, like the victim, the rescuer, and the persecutor. So I was the rescuer, and I was out there trying so hard to help everyone else that I lost myself a little bit. But in the end, again, back to SaunaSpace just being an extension of me, I've kind of had this slow realization that you can only help yourself. You can only work on yourself, really. And I thought I was working on the company and growing and stuff. And I was just working on myself. So actually right now we're going into next month, we're launching a big rebrand that I've been working on for over a year. And there's a lot of identity work. We changed the brand identity and made it a lot more heart-centered in the messaging and more balanced. In the wellness space, in the biohacking space, there tends to be kind of a masculine tone to things, like do this, do X, Y, and Z, take this supplement, you're broke, but here's the product to fix you. And even more than that, like, the way you succeed is really intense, hard work and perseverance. And that's a total illusion. We're unlimited beings, and we're designed to just be. In other words, be ourselves, and follow our heart. And when the more people actually do that, the more wellness actually improves. You can only bring to the horse to water. So I realized that in the end, I'm just working on myself and improving the product. It's been this purpose-driven design journey for over 10 years now. And the product experience and focusing all that is, I'm just perfecting myself. And other people see that. And I'm so grateful to, in some ways, maybe be an example of following your heart, and also maybe an inspiration for others to follow their own. And yeah, the product is amazing. It works amazingly. You get the light therapy and the sauna therapy together in a package and an experience that's really transformative. It doesn't just help like with cellular rejuvenation and regeneration and detox. It has a feeling to it. There's an experience to our sauna that's very unique due to our technology, that really sets us apart. It's something that you get out of it and you feel joyful and powered up and rejuvenated and grounded and like super zen. And so it seems to be a vehicle for success for a lot of people. That's not the only thing out there. That, there's a lot of amazing products, out in the wellness world nowadays, but this seems to be a real staple for so many people, especially because of the nature of modern life, how toxic the world is, and also that we're beings of light. We're literally star beings. And so we're supposed to get all the sunlight, and most of the sun is near infrared. It's not UV for vitamin D, even though that's important too. Over 70% of our power from the sun that we absorb is near infrared, which has all these healing effects in the cells and anti-inflammation, and it literally gives us energy. So we're fueled by the sun. It's not secondarily by eating plants and animals that are directly fueled by the sun. We are directly powered by the sun. And so like in the summer, you're usually less hungry because you get a lot of sun. And that's like, it's literally fueling us. So when we get this light, it reminds us, hey, I'm an unlimited star being.
I feel like I need that tattooed like immediately somewhere. Brian, like I love hearing the passion, the way that you describe what you do, and in a rebrand I'm really curious, because to me a rebrand, given what you describe about where the business is and what you've already written through, is a reflection of you. It probably also involves a lot of the team too now, where it isn't just you, it's bigger than you, and it involves thinking about customers and thinking about the movement and the wellness community. And like, I imagine it is in some ways like a collective conscious rebrand than it is just the internal one that happens when you're first starting. So have you had to be more considerate and more open to other people amending and lending their wisdom to the vision, and really being maybe a guide more so than the person walking on it?
Oh, for sure. We did a ton of customer interviews, actually video interviews. We lined up a bunch of people and we went really deep into what do people want? How do they feel? Like, what do they do? What are their routines in the sauna and associated with the products? And yeah, we also looked internally. Who are we? Who am I? As a company, the company has its own consciousness. It's its own being, and she has her own thoughts and feelings and desires, and so, yeah, there's about 36, 38 employees now at the company. We are very manufacturing focused. So this is our workshop. The shift's over and everybody's gone home, but it's all handmade here. The majority of our team members are here. Our front end is very small. It's probably like 5 or 6 people, including myself. And yeah, we didn't hire like a CMO. I've been orchestrating the rebrand slowly over time, first working on the brand identity and the personality, and then building messaging around that. And then it's gone from there to building all new visual marketing. That's all going to launch here next month. And all has been absolutely a collective effort. And at the same time, it's, anytime we do anything or we're trying to make a decision, do anything in our lives, we're definitely best off being informed by the perspective of others, learning how to listen and be quiet. And at the end of that, though, we have to decide ourselves, like, what is the trajectory? What is the path? Where do we step forward? That has to be our own decision, and we have to follow our heart. Too often, we succumb to the perspectives and influences of others. And our rational mind it's really powerful. It's this powerful analyzing tool, and it puts everything together. It brings together like the subconscious and the intuition and our soul, but it can trick us, and a lot of times, even me, myself, in some ways, like with the rental real estate, I was following someone else's dream. And worse than that, I was actually focused on earning an income, growing wealth in order to like do the things I want to do. And I realized that, it's obviously not the path to success or to greatness. It's things come from within. And this is like, some people may think, hey, I have this hobby, I have this thing that I love to do, but I don't think I can make any money with it. And that's an illusion. That's a stereotype that's from our society, or whatever you learn that's taught to us by our parents or by school or whatever. And it's never the case. The people who manifest their highest and best selves, is like star beings, and they become stars. They're doing what they love. They're taking that hobby and figuring it out. And we don't necessarily get to know the how and the why of it, but the universe provides, the divine provides, and we figured things out. And that's certainly been the case with me.
There's like a leap of faith inherent in that, right? That you're willing to, I don't know. It's never a clean journey. Like some days sucks. I think the brand of entrepreneurship is like sold like an ice cream cone. It's just like, oh yeah, like it's really great, and like live your life and dream. And then you get swiftly kicked in the cojones and you figure out what you're made of. And at the same time, that forges, the person that you can become. I have always felt like the pursuit of passion is too often stated without any kind of like practicality. And then I agree with you that on the other side, if you don't pursue passion, you just are sort of hollowly pursuing real estate for the sake of real estate or wealth, or not having to work, that you're kind of like on an island and eventually are going to come square with pain. Like, who knows what that pain is, but it's not going to be a fun ride either to realize that you hate what you do and have to do it and you're stuck there. Mm-hmm. How do you make sure that you are practical in your pursuit of passion?
Yeah, it's not like you just dream it up. There's definitely, you want alignment of the heart and the mind. So you have this thing that calls you to do, and then you use your mind to take steps forward. But it doesn't have to be hard, and it doesn't have to be this thing that's like constantly difficult. Like you said, there's absolutely challenges that come up, and you have to figure those out. You have to navigate those. But it's when you're doing something you love, there's an aspect of it that's effortless, and you definitely need to take care of yourself along the way. So nowadays, with how weird our modern life is, there's a lot of things that we ought to do to recreate this ancestral environment that we used to have. And, I'm not just using sauna, and I'm not just using my portable light, at work for screen fatigue. I'm also taking some supplements and binders, and I'm very careful with my diet and my water and my sleep. And I do other things too, like for meditation and breath work and PEMF therapy sometimes, and and just like a good old fashioned massage, like the practice of self-love, not just feeling it and thinking it, but doing something too, is really important.
So I want to talk about self-love. I have battled and grappled with that for a very long time. But also, like, I do think the wellness space, like before we talk about self-love, the wellness space does kind of have this, like, this is your answer to getting more, that is mostly not stated. It's not explicit, but it is somewhat implied that if you are well, then you will. And I love this idea of being. It's something that might help us bridge over into self-love. Being is something I've struggled with, to do nothing and just be, to not feel the urge of proving that I'm enough, or trying to make something happen that doesn't fit, or just existing and enjoying and appreciating. But like, how do you think about wellness separately from wellness will help you get more of the things that you want? Or can they be separated? Maybe they just go together. Maybe they naturally dovetail.
Yeah, they go together, but it's definitely, you need to figure out what you love to do. Don't just go and grind at the gym because you're told to do that. You need to, you know, find something that is like really exciting, you know, for you. Like, it's something you want to be able to look forward to. So there's nothing I do for my wellness that's just because it's good for my health. Everything I'm doing has a fun aspect to it, or an excitement, or it's something where I look at it and I'm ready to get up and do it. I'm not like dragging myself and forcing myself to do it. So the question is how to figure that out. You know, sometimes it helps to sit quietly and like listen to yourself. So there's tools though that help you. You know, you can use vibroacoustic meditation and use the sauna. The sauna is also really amazing. It particularly the SaunaSpace experience with the EMF protection and the isolation from modern artificial stimuli, all the matrix like stimulus, and the light and the heat together interact in a way that puts you back into yourself, pulls you out of your thoughts, pulls you out of the worry of the future and the regret of the past, and brings you back to yourself. You know, somebody told me this not too long ago, and I was really awestruck by it. They said that you'd never actually can learn anything, and you're never actually taught anything. You can only remember. So you can only remember things that you already know, because when we step back into ourselves and remember I'm an unlimited being, we kind of get out of that left brain sort of mentality into the right brain, into the universal consciousness. And we know things, and like, we know ourselves, we know what brings us joy. We know what we love. And maybe if we don't know that, then sitting quietly to get to know yourself again, it still leads to that. And maybe there's some physiological, you know, blocks, you know, so maybe we need to get well. Maybe we're really toxic, but eventually, like, that's the flow that I really love about what our product assists in people on their journey is going from body to mind to spirit. So first you detox the body and you promote cellular rejuvenation and regeneration, and the body, our ultimate instrument that our consciousness sits in, gets better and gets more finely tuned. And then our mind kind of, you know, the brain fog goes away and our mind clears, and we can see around us. We could see things as they truly are, and we can kind of start to identify the illusions, the things I was telling myself that are not real, that are not me. And then we begin to, you know, we pivot and we're like, wow, now that I'm feeling so good doing the sauna, and I'm going to change my diet. You know, I'm not going to eat those croissants anymore, and I'm going to turn the blue lights off after whatever, 7 p.m. And as we do those things and we become more aligned with our true selves in our lifestyle, and we're feeling it, there begins to be like a subtle but growing, and maybe for some people, like drastic transformation of the of the spirit. And we start to remember, I'm supposed to be here to pursue my passion, to pursue my purpose. And I'm starting to realize, I'm starting to understand, this is my purpose. And then you start to, maybe it's big life changes, maybe it's small life changes, but for some people, they can go straight to that, and they're totally like divine beings. But for a lot of us, we're kind of stuck in the muck, and it's really helpful to I can't even get quiet enough to I can't even hear myself think with all this, this negativity that I have. It's really easy and effortless to just be in the sauna and start to clean up. And then you give yourself space and energy and get back into yourself so that you can really, you can engage in these more subtle transformations.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the subtle transformations have so much more, maybe magnitude in the long run, right? They're sort of the 1% daily mentality versus the make these big prolific jumps that aren't really sustainable. So I resonate with that. I also feel like my understanding of where my pain has been is often future or past. Like anytime I think about the pain that I'm in, it's future or past. And lately, so my routine involves a cold plunge, meditation, and your 4-bulb magical device that's sitting in my little wellness center gym area. And what's been really interesting about this, because it's I got introduced to you guys probably several months ago. Time is a weird construct, but it's an anchoring part of my morning now. And the sensations that I am able to experience there, if I'm meditating and have the light there with me, is that less of the future and past seems relevant. And just in that moment, I can kind of hear again. I love just the way you said you can finally hear your thoughts. You can hear yourself think or hear a different part of your brain. As a business owner, and we work with a lot of CEOs that are, spoiler alert, you're going to be getting a light when you sign up for us from here forward. But the challenge I find that really driven and ambitious people have is there's a demand for future thinking. There's a demand for reflection and looking at the past and saying, hey, how do we do this? How do we grow the business and the entity? But then there's also this escapism that's really important. Maybe not escapism, but respite from future past to just be in the moment. How do you, just as you, navigate the need and demand to think and to project and to contemplate about where things are going, and also the need to be present with team, present with self, present with customers, etc.?
Well, you can plan for the future and not be worried about the future. So if you're in the present fully, that all that means is that you're 100% of your intention and your attention, both of them, are here now. And you're looking at the circumstances around you. Like me with the company, I have the rebrand coming up. I'm not just sitting here saying, it's going to work out. That it's what I want. It's my passion, and it's just going to happen. I have developed teams and plans and steps to get me from here to there. However, when I get to the next moment and the next step, I'm trying as much as possible to be really aware of where I'm at now and what's changed since 2 seconds ago and what's changed since yesterday, and then pivoting. The best plans in the world fall apart when we can't be adaptable. So the best way to plan for the future is still to be here in the present and just be like a super aware, super conscious being, and be really clearly not just knowing who you are and where you're going, but be really perceptive of the people around you. It's a collaborative, collective effort. And you know, communication in the company is really important for me. Like we have core values and we hire according to our core values. One of them is to be intentional. Like you want to be intentional with your word and your action all the time. And you'll be able to plan really well for the future and then be really adaptive as you go towards it. And the whole time, it doesn't have to be like hard and difficult and stressful. It can be challenging, but there's a sort of again, there's like an effortlessness about it where you're, it's kind of like going to the store and buying some groceries. Maybe you're trying to buy for a recipe and you're buying certain things, but for me, I go to the store and I just start walking through and I start grabbing the things I need to put them in my fridge. And you're not thinking about it. You know what you need to eat for the next like week or two. And you go and you get those things. And maybe if you need to, because you want to do something elaborate, you like write a list beforehand. But once you take action, once you begin to implement the plan, there's an effortlessness to it that gets you to the goal and you're not stressing out like, oh my goodness, are they going to have onions? And what if this, what if that? Like there's no point to that. It actually doesn't serve you at all. All it does is take your attention away from being and who you are. And that limits you. That limits your awareness, your consciousness. And then eventually it hardens your heart and it makes you unhappy. And like, that's unfortunately like the modern malaise, but it doesn't have to be that way. And it doesn't mean you're uncaring or you're lazy. You're just fully oriented towards being in the present and squeezing the lemon out of everything as you step forward to a goal that you have identified. And it's like really clear in your mind. This is where I want to be. This is who I want to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the who I want to be. I think that's a really important addition. The thing that comes to mind about self-love is almost that self-love seems like an outcome. And I guess This is something I think about like a lot with my own journey and with people that I ultimately have these conversations with all the time, where self-love is a reward. And then the feedback loop is I get self-love when I blank, sign a client, get a new deal, sell a new home, like name it. It's then attached to the reward and the result. And then because it's built that way, if I don't get the thing or something happens along the way, my self-love goes to zero and now I'm self-loveless. And my rewiring lately has been to think of self-love the way I would think about prep as an athlete before a game, not after the game. Like I don't get self-love when I get the championship. I get self-love before the championship game because that's going to really restore me. Mm-hmm. But I'm also noticing that the wellness community feels somewhat oriented towards like, this happens after. This will help you recover. Like recovery is a big word attached to wellness lately. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious if you're starting to see any bigger trends about switching that from recovery to preparation.
I'm not really seeing that trend right now. I would like to see that trend. We're definitely trending that way. So, unfortunately, wellness is still a transactional game for so many people and so many companies, even though they're well intent. There's a lot of good intention out there and people want to help other people get well, but there is a lot of focus on doing A, B, C to get X, Y, and Z. When, at the end of the day, the body, the physiological, challenges that we face are the foundation of our wellness, and they're the lowest order. So above that are the emotional challenges we have. And above that are maybe the energetic or spiritual challenges that we have. And I personally can attest to the fact that when you resolve some of those higher order things, some of the physiological problems go away. And there's like a dance back and forth, because as you resolve some emotional challenge you had, you become more aware of your body and your mind and how you're being. And then there's some other step, that you probably ought to take to increase the tuning of your instrument. And so it's back and forth. But um, what I like to say and remind people of is that it's important to love yourself. It's probably more important to remember that you are love. We're all divinely created beings, and we already, it's important also to be grateful. Vitamin G, like Benazati says, vitamin G, and it's important to be grateful and honor the people around you and give, and demonstrate gratitude. And probably more important, to be gratitude, to know that you are gratitude and you're walking in a state of gratitude all the time. And from that, like, we're already perfect. We have some dissonances, we have some discongruities in our body and our instrument and our mind, some things that we've forgotten that we need to remember. Wow, I can do this. I can do that. I'm capable of anything. But it's important to step back, more and more, get out of the game, out of the transactions, out of the search and the quest to find the solution to your problems. And remember that you really don't have any problems per se. You're already perfect. These perfect beings, and we're just unfolding constantly and transforming into the next moment. And along the way, we're like realizing, wow, I love the sauna, it feels amazing. I'm sleeping better, and this and that. And we remember that we are love, and that self-love feels really good. And yes, it's not something that we pursue at the end of the rainbow. It's right here, right now. And when we live in that, we're just so much more powerful, and we're so much more aligned with our true selves. And it empowers us to take action and do these wellness practices that keep us really finely tuned, that keep us in a state of wellness. Ultimately, like health, wellness, it's a function of disharmony or harmony in the internal environment and the external environment. And so we're looking, clean up this body and regenerate and heal and all that. And also, what's the environment I'm living in? Who are the people I'm living with? How am I communicating with them? And what am I doing for work? And so forth. And what about the EMFs, from my Wi-Fi in my home? And so there's not really such a thing as disease, and we're not born with dysfunction per se, although there's definitely challenges that people can be born with, where it's not a disease. It's not something we're stuck with. It's not a label. It's not a prescription. It's not a fact. It's some kind of disharmony that we need to figure out. Oh, if I'm in my highest and true self, I'll be without that harmony. Things will be aligned and harmonized. So what do I got to do to get there? And there's so much great information out there, and so many amazing tools to get you there nowadays. It's so beautiful what's going on. So even though, maybe this trend is still existing of, telling people that you're broken, we need to fix you. But at the same time, we have so much access to knowledge that 100 years ago, even 50 years ago, was, I would say, well, really before the internet, was secret and esoteric and inaccessible. And you had to go study at a mystery school for 20 years, or you had to apprentice someone. And now, like, you can take courses online, and there's so many different ways to help you understand what I need to be working on, and what's suited to me. And that's also an important thing that people should remember, is that we're all individuals. We're all totally unique. And sure, everybody benefits from sauna, and everybody benefits from light. but the prescription, what you actually need on a daily or weekly basis is not the same for everyone. People with like neuropathy and neuropathic challenges, they need to use the sauna really slowly in the beginning. And that's why our sauna is really cool. It has this multiple switches. So you can start out using like one or two bulbs and work your way up. More healthy people like yourself, you can get in there and do a full sauna session. And so everybody at the end needs to remember, hey, I need to figure out what's best for me. And that applies to like supplements and how we eat. And also the seasonality of things like, carnivore can be great, and going and doing that for a while can be great. But then I think, usually there's a time to shift, and for everybody, it's different. Some people handle that really well. And some people are like, are better with other diets. And, we all need to figure out what it is. Like I definitely switched things up. What the human organism, like the human biology, the instrument that where our consciousness lives in, it constantly wants a new experience. So like everything from brushing your teeth with the other hand to varying your sauna sessions, going longer, maybe doing 2 saunas one day, taking a week and not doing any sauna and doing other things. At the same time, that routine and structure is really helpful to develop practices and develop discipline. We also want to mix it up and be constantly aware of the beauty in things being, changing things up, basically.
Oh, our good friend change. Change feels like one of those things that all of us want, and there's always fear attached to it. So I'm super mindful of all those things that come with it. I have been sitting in front of a SaunaSpace device now for at least a couple months every morning.
Mm.
I have my breaks, like if I'm away or I travel often, so I can be away. But it has also opened up more about wellness just to pursue it a little bit. Kind of to the comment you made earlier about like, hey, 2013, it was happening. You just didn't know about it. And I think it has been exciting to lean in on this wellness journey and pay more attention, to make it more of a practice, and to shepherd some other people through that too, where it may be a recovery option, but now it's a prerequisite for how we show up best. Given that I'm outside of the wellness industry, though I suppose coaching is somewhere labeled in there, and you're like deep in it, I just have this like this visual of a wellness company CEO having everything, like their house, like they sleep in a cryo tank and they like wake up and go down like a slide, and immediately there's just like a bed of fresh lettuce that they chop up and like blend for like just like it's like next level. And while that may be true in some sort of movie that's coming out in the near future, I imagine that you are still a human being, and that you are still like susceptible to break-in routine, and that you still need to change it up, like you just mentioned, and that you're trying to figure out your harmony and experiencing disharmony all the time. And I don't know, I don't know that there's an inherent question in that. I just think that sometimes we make the assumption, looking at what you're building and why you're building it, and assume that you're doing it all perfect, that we're doing it all wrong, that you've got answers and we have questions, and that we're broken and that we need healing. And maybe I'd just like you to share a little bit about that, the actuality of it.
No, yeah, I'm a human being like everybody else. Maybe I'm a star being in a human body, but I'm definitely, I'm on a journey as well. And it never ends. And there's, maybe there's some kind of destination, and like me having like everything dialed in, like you described with the slide and the lettuce. I'm definitely not there yet. I do focus more than ever though on just being. So I'm more and more trying to be quiet so I can hear my heart talk. and listen, like what, what excites me. And when you're in the flow, the universe is constantly giving you signs. There's constant serendipities. And those things, really what that is, we're all connected. We're all one. And those serendipities are your heart, basically, and the universe and the divine aspect of yourself talking to you and trying to get your rational mind to pay attention. Hey, man, this is important. Go pursue this. Like, check this out. So yeah, when I try more and more to pay attention to my heart and also my intuition, like when I have a feeling, I'm trying as best as possible to not disregard it or like deal with it later. I'm in the moment, try to remind myself, what is that feeling? And why am I feeling that feeling? What's going on? What am I supposed to understand? And that's led to just a pursuit of a lot of acquiring knowledge in different places now. Like I definitely know a fair amount about sauna and light, so I'm more focused on consciousness and like who I am and who we are and what are we doing here, and I've and what's beautiful about that is that we all have that. Everybody has the power and the ability to be a star. And I don't mean like a celebrity. I mean like a really bright, powerful, positive, influential being who's so true to themselves that they effortlessly help all the people around them and like radiate light to everybody around them. So we all have this, within us. We're all both, part human and part divine, part unlimited. And that's this, it's the story of the Matrix and this artificial like AI Matrix, that we're living in nowadays, that's telling us otherwise. You're not good enough. Stay in your lane. And, you're not going to be able to get there like the stars. Like you gotta work really hard and a really long time. And, at the end of the rainbow, when you retire, you might have some of the stuff you want. And that's not true. We're all like ready to be activated and to be really enlightened. And I'm not saying I am at all. I'm just spending a lot of time trying to pay attention to these other aspects of myself, not just my five senses and not just my desire to like eat and rest, but the sort of sixth sense, the extrasensory perceptions, these subtle senses that we have. And you realize that your heart and your soul and your intuition, they're talking to you all the time. If you can just get your mind to quiet a little bit, your rational mind. And there's all of this precognitive knowledge that we all have. Like that's what intuition is. You're not thinking about anything. You get a feeling. Where is that feeling coming from? What is the knowledge or the basis for that feeling? It's something that's precognitive, that's already there. It's whatever you want to call it. It's in the DNA. It's in the subconscious. You're accessing your higher self. There's something there that the rational mind can't explain rationally with reason. There's this super intuitional mind or knowledge that we all have access to. And so I am just a regular guy focusing on that type of stuff, as I also recognize I live in the real world and I'm going to feel really good when I use a sauna and eat really healthy and go to bed on time and do the things that I love.
In my head, I'm like playing this visual of driving down the street, and the most important signs, usually a stop sign, to be able to hear that whisper, to be able to hear intuition, is usually like covered by like a branch. And my programming, especially as a kid, as an athlete, was just like, just run as fast as you can and never stop and work hard and get shit done. And I think I'm learning much more now to stop, to slow down, to sit in front of infrared lights or near infrared lights and listen. And I can really appreciate that as you've gone down building this business, you've probably also gone down the pathway that is asking questions and then reinforcing new habits and patterns. I think anything that you do for long enough, that's a long time, over 10 years, you constantly have to reinvent it. So it's really cool to hear about the rebrand and all the things that are coming, because I think that just speaks to you and your rebrand and your growth and asking new questions. I want to hear a little bit about the lights, because we've kind of been on like some right brain, and I want to get a little left brain in just really quick. Like, I understand what I read and I understand enough, but for somebody listening that maybe has not heard about near infrared lights, or specifically what you have done that's so different, I want to give them a little taste of your magic. From my understanding, sitting down in front of these lights has a tremendous cellular effect. You also have the clarity that comes with sitting and being still and silence. But what is it about your lights that's so different? Because I know there's something that's not found in every single light. You can get just red light, but that's not what you guys got. You got some different magic.
Yeah, so our technology is what I call the firelight. So it's the spectrum of the sun without ultraviolet light and blue light. So it's the full complement of all the sun's wavelengths, except for those super high energy damaging wavelengths. So ultraviolet light is ionizing, it mutates your DNA, and blue light is also causes free radical formation. That's why all this matrix light we have indoors stresses people out. LED light. So all LED light is very blue, has a huge blue component. What we use is an incandescent light source, which is the same as what the sun does. The sun incandesces. So the sun is like 6,000 degrees or more. And when you heat up a material hot in nature, it glows naturally and it emits a light spectrum that's natural. And it's that light of nature that our cells are crying out for. That's what our biology is programmed or tuned to get. It's not just one wavelength of red like you get with an LED light therapy panel, like a red light panel or a red light, an LED red light product. And also in the world of sauna, most of the infrared saunas are far infrared. And incandescent light is not just far infrared. It does have some. And our firelight bulbs, which is the new name, by the way, so we're changing the name from Thermalite to Firelight. They do have some far infrared. There's far infrared in there, but it's matching what the sun gives us. So the sun gives us a little bit of red and a lot of near infrared, mostly like over 70% of the power is there. And then we get some mid infrared and some far infrared. And it's that complement and power distribution of light that is most aligned with our biology, I would say. And that's what makes us different. So everybody in the red light therapy world is using LEDs, either a red light panel at 660 nanometers in red, or maybe a near infrared light panel at like 820, 830 nanometers. But it's one wavelength and a really high power of that. So it's kind of like the LED stuff is kind of like vitamin C powder, which can be very effective, if you're feeling ill. But the incandescent light is the orange. It's light in its original form. It's the synergy of the natural form. It's what they also call the cacophony effect. The full spectrum effect. When you take one ingredient out of nature and fractionate it and separate it and then give that at a really high dose, it never seems to be effective as giving humans what they need in the natural form, whether it's food, and people know that about food. We also need to apply that understanding to light. So we want light in its natural form, and the synergy of the natural form, or the sum or the total, the totality of it is greater than the sum of the parts. And that's what incandescent light does. So that's what we use. It's based on Dr. Kellogg's electric light bath invented in 1891, shortly after light bulbs were created. Dr. Kellogg was part of a cohort of scientists who were using electric light bulbs for healing in the early 20th century, late 18th century. There was like a bunch of guys, and they were achieving incredible results. Dr. Kellogg documented it. Over 50,000 patients he treated with the electric light bath. Yeah, he wrote a book about it in 1905 or something like that. That's called Light Therapeutics. They knew about light therapy, 120 years ago. And unfortunately, with the publication of like the Flexner report, and that led to the establishment and the rise of the medical doctor as the only form of medical care, and the rise of the FDA, and basically the powers that be persecuted not just light therapy, a lot of wellness, a lot of spas, a lot of cancer spas, a lot of like chiropractic was made illegal for a long time. That all happened, and this concept of light therapy got forgotten. But then we returned to it, probably 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago. More research started seeing research into how can light heal the body. More modern research. We already had amazing research though, 120 years ago. So I stumbled upon this concept, Dr. Kellogg's product, that inspired me to make my own. And it was an ugly little thing. And I had this amazing healing experience. And I was like, whoa, all I did was sit on my lazy butt. I would just sat there and I was just being, it wasn't really doing anything. And it cleared up my insomnia and my adrenal fatigue and my acne, my brain fog that I wasn't even aware of the brain fog, in the beginning. And also just, it changed my mood. That's what really fascinated me, is it wasn't just had more energy. It was kind of feeling better. It really changed my outlook on life. It changed my positivity and my patience and my sort of perspective on things. And I was like, whoa, this is really amazing. Like, what's going on here? So that was the inspiration for the start of the company. And then I realized many years later, sort of diving into the science of it, like, what is it actually doing to our cells that's helpful? So sauna reduces your risk of dying of all things. Another way to say that is that regular sauna use increases your health span, the years of your life that you're healthy. So it doesn't matter what your problem is and what you're dealing with physically or emotionally or mentally. Sauna in some aspect will benefit you, as long as you can figure out how to incorporate it into your life. And there's some things about our technology that are really unique that make it more accessible as a therapy. And so sauna is basically doing two things. It's detoxing you at the cellular level through the production of heat shock proteins. They're things that don't exist at body temperature, but when you raise temperature 3 degrees for a period of minutes, you get the production of heat shock proteins. They help cell detox, and they refold proteins and move them around. So the sauna therapy, the heat in a sustained fashion where the whole body is heated up and we sweating, it detoxes you, and it promotes cellular rejuvenation by fixing the proteins in your body. Many of the proteins, when they're made immediately, they come out of the DNA. The DNA is transcribed, and then they're built in the ribosome. They're already coming out misfolded, and they're these complicated little structures that are supposed to fit lock and key into each other. So the heat shock proteins come out, fold them all up, make them pretty again, and they work better. And so you have not just a detox effect with sauna, you have a cellular rejuvenation effect. You're fixing and improving how the cell works. So that's what's going on there with sauna. And with light therapy is, I think, most easily defined as the use of red and near infrared light to heal damaged cells and to optimize function of healthy cells. That's every cell of the body, because all of our cells in our body have mitochondria except our red blood cells, nerve cells, pancreatic cells, muscles, skin. It's not just about, making your skin look better. It's healing your brain. It's healing everything. So what does it do? It's, without getting too much into the weeds, light therapy reduces inflammation. It promotes regeneration. It promotes anti-aging. So it helps fix the epigenetic state of the DNA. There's, with sauna and with light therapy, there are immune modulation effects. So it makes your immune system work better. It promotes a stronger immune response, and it also helps the immune system calm down afterwards. So, people with, immune dysfunction or T cells or things like that are not working right, they see improvement, with light therapy and with sauna. And again, back to our technology, what's special about us is that we use near infrared light to do light and heat therapy. And I say near infrared, it is this full spectrum, but it's mostly near infrared that's doing the magic. So near infrared is the deepest penetrating of all wavelengths. So it's bringing the light therapy benefit to the mitochondria and to the cell, through bone tissue, all to the deepest areas of the body. So if you want to work and do light therapy on your brain, you have to use near infrared light. Red light doesn't go in deep. That's just treating the skin and maybe like the hair follicle cells and stuff like that. But it's not going into the most important part of, maybe one of the most important parts of your biology, which is your nervous system. That's a big problem we have nowadays, is there's so much brain problems. And so that's what's also, I should bounce back to the sauna real quick. The sauna, regular sauna use reduces your risk of dementia. So it's doing those things in your brain. It's detoxing your brain, and it's helping break up dysfunction, and it's helping the nerve cells work better, and then helping them talk to each other better, and the brain works better, and neuroplasticity is, improved. And so dementia, it's like, I want to live long and I want my brain to work a really long time. Well, just do sauna 2 or 3 days a week, and you'll be well on that path. But yeah, as far as our product goes, when we use near infrared light to heat the body, it heats us radiantly, and it delivers light therapy very deeply into the body. So some near infrared wavelengths in the higher end are stimulated mitochondrial response, light therapy, and the near infrared wavelengths on the longer wavelength side, on the lower energy side, are still very deeply penetrating in the body and heating us up from within. So when you get into a SaunaSpace sauna, because it uses near infrared light in that lower end band of near infrared to heat the body, you don't have to preheat the sauna, and you're sweating very quickly. And your sauna session, it only takes 30 minutes. With our new super sauna, so it's a 7-bulb system. It's a 4-panel like you have, and another 3-panel. The sauna session only takes 15 minutes. So all these amazing benefits, but just like anything else, we're told, oh, this is going to be really good for your health. Go do it. In a traditional sauna, and also in a far infrared sauna, it has to be preheated a half hour to an hour, and then you have to sit in there an hour. And in all of the sauna therapies, you're trying to do 2 things: raise core temperature 3 degrees and sweat out a pound of water on average. Those are the markers that were measured in the longevity studies of sauna. And what we
3
found,
degrees, a pound of water.
Yeah, 3 degrees and a pound of water. They're happening at the same time, more or less. So you want that sustained temperature increase, and you want to sweat strongly. And if you do that, it doesn't matter what sauna you use. There's actually research in these, what are called sauna suits, but they used to sell these in the 60s too. They have these funny old commercials. And anyway, you just wear this suit that makes you hot. And there's interesting research on improving thermoregulatory responses in the body and improving the cardiovascular system. And what you see is, it doesn't matter how hot the sauna is, and it doesn't matter what sauna technology you use, as long as you sweat out 1 pound of water, raise core temperature 3 degrees Fahrenheit, you're going to get those benefits. You could even, if you couldn't afford a sauna, you could fill up your bathtub with the hottest water possible and get in, and you have a really nice heat therapy. But back to our technology, to what SaunaSpace does, the other saunas, because of the preheating time and the 1 hour you sit in it, it's a 2-hour investment. So to do that 3 days a week, that's 6 hours. That's like a lot of time. With our product, it's, either an hour and a half, or with our super sauna, it's 45 minutes. And I think almost anybody has time for that. So that's a big game changer, that time savings. And then also at the same time, you're getting this light therapy benefit that is, we could talk about for a long time, how amazing that is. You're getting the stack therapy that also with some other aspects of our sauna, it's EMF shielded. So there's a grounding mat in the floor that provides shielding and it's grounded. So you get grounding therapy, earthing therapy, where basically the electrons effuse into the body and the body's positive voltage is cleared, and that recalibrates, all of our electrical systems and all of the cells. We're definitely, as beings of light, as quantum beings, we're much more electromagnetic than we are chemical. It's all about like what's going on at the quantum level in the cells, and everything in the body has an electric component to it. So that's why grounding therapy feels amazing, and walking outside barefoot feels amazing. And there's great research behind it. So we've included that in our product, and then we've EMF shielded the light panels. So SaunaSpace is not bringing any man-made stressful EMF to the party. And then we also have our Faraday sauna option, where the whole sauna is a grounded Faraday cage, and you get inside and you're completely protected from like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and you have an even more like therapeutic, transformative experience. So when you do all those things together, it's not just a sauna and it's not just light therapy. It's like this really zen, really transformative is the word, experience. And you get out, feeling amazing. And you're getting these two things that are fundamental in helping keep us healthy nowadays. Detoxing all the time, which we basically need to do all the time because of our toxic exposure we get in the modern world, and making sure we get a lot of near infrared light. The ancestral humans, and some people still nowadays, they get hours and hours of sunlight a day. And let's face it, most of us are not getting that. The average American gets like 7 minutes of sunshine a day.
That is a really low number. Holy shit.
Yeah. So we were giving our body this nourishing light of nature that it's designed to get every day as probably the number one nutrient our body needs more than anything we could possibly eat, is light. But not just any light, not the matrix light and the blue light. It's really near infrared light because of those two effects that it has, the mitostim effects and the heat shock effects. And also, I want to also say one more thing. I know we're probably over time, but the sun. People ask, like, well, what about the sun? And we're not trying to replace the sun. We're trying to mimic the sun. But the sun is definitely like, if we could all get a lot of sun, we'd all be so much better for it. But the sun also has ultraviolet light and blue light, and you're getting a little bit of those, and then that are damaging your DNA. And the ultraviolet light does promote vitamin D production, so that's beneficial, definitely, to the immune system. But the blue light and the ultraviolet light is definitely a killer wavelength. But the body is getting this huge dose of near infrared at the same time in the same cell. That's has antioxidant effects and corrective effects. That's going in and fixing that DNA that the ultraviolet light basically damaged. However, nowadays we have a lot of modern influences that our ancestors didn't have, like seed oils, like linoleic acid. So when you eat polyunsaturated fatty acids that are basically seed oils, and nut oils are very high in them, you build up these fatty acids in your cells, in your mitochondria, and in your cell walls that are easily oxidized. So if you have a high seed oil diet, you're more susceptible to that ultraviolet light damage. You burn really quickly in the sun. Our ancestors, 100 years ago, we only had like a few percentage of our diet had linoleic acid in it and PUFAs. And nowadays in America, it's probably approaching 50% of our fat intake is, if we're not careful, all the restaurants, all the industrial food, it's all, most of the processed food, it's, they're not using tallow and coconut, oil anymore. They're using all like canola oil and things like that, and soybean oil. And so unfortunately, recognizing that our biology has been kind of corrupted a little bit and messed up, so that we're not ideally positioned to benefit from sunlight as best we can. So, that's something where like the sun can be challenging nowadays because of that. So this is a way that you, with SaunaSpace, with the incandescent bulb, that you can get near infrared light, get a huge dose of it, and not get any blue or ultraviolet light. So you can sit there long enough, by the way, and sweat, and you're not getting sunburned. And yeah, so like it's a recognition that we don't live the way we used to live. And so how do we thrive nowadays where the modern world's so crazy? And this is, I feel our technology is amazing. There's definitely other cool saunas out there. And there's, some people might find a lot of satisfaction in LED based light therapy panels. And there's some great products out there. But for me, I want to do everything in the most efficient amount of time, and that limited efficient sauna session that I have, I want it to be really transformative to my mind, and my perspective at the same time. And so you have to try it out. Our product experience is like super unique.
I really appreciate the distinction of the intention from the time. 3 degrees, pound of water in the experience of a sauna versus just sit there for however long. Or I've been in somewhere it seems like it's a competition to see who can get it the hottest, and I'm just like melting inside of this thing.
Yeah,
and I'm probably getting my 3 degrees, but it's just not.
Well, and this is hormetic stress, so it's hormesis. So there is a maximum benefit after a certain period of time. Too much time, you get declining benefit, and then you may even damage yourself. So there's that sweet spot. It's not about how hot it gets and not about how long you can stay in. It's about reaching those two outcomes I've stated, and also maybe subjectively a state of subjective exhaustion, where you kind of you get to the point where you just start to feel kind of uncomfortable, and you're like, oof. And if you can stay in just another minute or two, you produce a lot of this compound called dynorphin, and dynorphins lead to the more dynorphins you produce, the more endorphins are produced after the exercise or the therapy. It's the same thing with exercise. You feel that high afterward. And if you go really hard, wow, you get that elation afterwards. And that's so that's one of the outcomes, you can go for too, but it's not supposed to be torture. It's supposed to be fun. And again, yeah, that's a misunderstanding of the sauna science. You just have to get enough that you get a nice sweat, and it's not about how hot it is. It's about the response that the body has.
I have done it every day. If I'm here, I go in there every day. And without knowing too much of the science, or I say in a way, I've kind of delegated most of the science to you guys. I can say that you've made it a light switch. There's technically 3 light switches. So there's 3 light switches to hit. And then I can sit, I can be there, I can focus on my thoughts or the whispers of my heart. I can just be present to that. And it's been a game changer. I mean, between that and a cold plunge, I've really felt like my mornings start a lot more intentional, that I'm able to show up different, that and like I fully recognize that some of that's on me, that I've got the responsibility of taking these experiences and then shifting them into action and shifting into my day a certain way. Certainly I can't delegate all of that out, but to have equipment that I know is engineered and built with a lot of love and intentionality behind it does feel like it sets me up pretty flippin' strong for the day. Mm-hmm. And every step of the process with your team has been incredible. Every single person on the team that I've talked to has been absolutely incredible. And I can tell that they believe in it. I can tell that they appreciate the science. They also appreciate the art and the individuals that that are going to find this. Like this is not for everybody, but it certainly is for a very connected, intentional person that wants to make wellness a bigger priority. So I'm a big fan. I can't wait
Beautiful.
to see the rebrand and how this all turns out too. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm also excited. It's been a long time coming. But yeah, it's I couldn't have said it better myself. That was really beautiful.
Will
For
the
we're
will the website still be the same?
yeah, website will be the same, but there's going to be some product. The product's the same, but there'll
Just the
be
name.
some product name changes and a whole new, all the messaging, how we describe it, and a whole new visual, look and feel. That's a lot more like heart based communication, let's call it, and yeah, just getting out of that transactional language and into the language of love and the language of being, and just helping. We're here to help people remember. They have these unlimited healing tools inside their body. Everybody has this. It's just waiting to be awakened and stimulated by these very simple things that our body wants.
Mm. Yeah, count me in. Again, very excited to follow along. If the idea of sauna or any of the things that SaunaSpace has, Brian and his team have been really gracious to offer you at home listening or wherever you listen, maybe on a spaceship or, I don't know, Battlestar Galactica. If you go to sauna.space/goyo, that's forget out of your own way. They have been gracious enough to offer a small discount on any of their products, which has been pretty amazing. I think, my stance on all this, Brian, has been like, I don't know very much, and I don't in some ways need to. I find experts and let them know a lot, and I stay in my lane. But what's been really exciting is that as I go, even talking to you here today, I learn more about it because I'm invested. Like one of the biggest changes in my life, hands down, is my strategy for investment flipped. Whether it's wellness or it's being a coach or it's soccer or it's running, like I'll put the money in first, and then I'm much more encouraged to figure it out and to go. And I think just by investing in that piece of equipment, I've kind of been digging. I've been learning about saunas. I've been learning about infrared lights, near infrared. I've been learning about thermogenesis and some of these pieces that are changed through sitting and meditating and being still. I find that the language that we use is like, well, I want to learn about it first and then I'll make my investment. And I've actually just taken the opposite approach, and it's been great. And I've been incredibly happy with you, again, with the team. It's just been really fun to learn about this through the lens of what you all have built that is very different.
Thank you.
If there was, just, I think there are going to be people that are listening that run a company, don't have a lot of time. So the time piece of like, hey, this helps you go as fast, that are curious about this, that might be in a place where they've experienced something like this, but didn't leave the room glowing or on fire. And I know there's a process there. There is something to committing and doing it daily. But what would you say to the person that has not had the like euphoric kind of moment, that maybe needs to understand something about what you all do so they can get started and say yes a little bit earlier?
Yeah, well, that's. I mean, everybody's so different, Aaron. So that's why we offer 100-day product trial. With a 100-day money back guarantee, because some people have that wow in the beginning, and some people take time. But what I would say is to remember. It's important to be invested in it. Like mentally and emotionally. Like take it seriously. Yeah, like be telling yourself, give yourself affirmations. This is going to work. This is something my body wants, and using that trial period to use it with discipline, and yeah, and then kind of just flipping to the other side of that polarity. As much as it's important to believe in yourself, it's maybe just as important to remember and to know that this is working, and this is going to work, and you're getting better. And it takes time. I mean, when we start to, those of us have this aha moment and we're like, holy cow, I need to work on my wellness. I've got some things going on here. Wow. Uh, just be patient with yourself and remember that it took a long time to get here. For most of us, decades, a lot of toxin exposure and a lot of emotional challenges, a lot of programming, a lot of conditioning. And there's also that program that we tell ourselves, I'm not well, I'm not going to get well, I can't be well. And so the unraveling of all of that takes time. I've been using the sauna for over 10 years. And I would say some of the deeper conditioning that I have from, as we all do, this reminds me of the book, The Four Agreements, where there's so much conditioning we have, right, from our parents, our school, from society. I've only really taken intentional time to unravel that in a real intentional, like, deep way, only in the last couple of years. And I'm 40 now, so it's, there's always time, but important to be patient and give yourself grace.
Two things I'm very actively working on, and you guys are a big part of that process. Even making time in the morning sort of is my way of being kind and self-loving to what we talked about earlier. So you and the entire team there are now a part of me being patient and graceful with myself. And it's something I'm incredibly grateful for, man. Like, you have no idea.
Wow. Well, we're grateful to be a part of that. It's beautiful.
Like I mentioned, anybody that signs on for our one-on-one or corporate packages is going to be getting one of the soon to be dubbed firelights. So I'm also really happy to be
the glow. It's going to be called the glow. So the firelight is the bulb, and what used to be called the photon is now the glow.
Oh yes. Oh man, that's awesome. I'm giving out glows. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to introduce that to people and help them be graceful, help them be patient, help them be kind to themselves, to establish self-love in their routines. And I get to hold them to the why of that, but I have no jurisdiction nor right to speak to the how. And I'm really excited that I've come in contact with you guys that know the how, because I don't know anything about the how.
Thank you for having me on. This is what I love. And talking about is always so fun. And some things I talked about on this, in this recording, I don't even think I've gone there, and some of the other ones. So I try to keep it fresh and new, and this has been a pleasure.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Brian. That was my goal too. Like, I kind of looked at what was talked about, and there's some other stuff that came to my heart as you build this impact.
Yeah, you had great questions. Great questions, Aaron.
Means a lot. Well, I'm sure you and I will cross paths at some point again very soon. I'll keep you updated as we implement the glow, getting out to our men and women. And as you think of what we can do to do it better and help people get out of their own way and be patient and graceful and use the sauna and use near infrared light to change their lives, I'm here for it. So thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Aaron.